one in New York was everything we're expecting. Plenty of wind, plenty of current, plenty of action.
We just got to finish race and not capsize.
Yeah.
Oh, GBR's capsized.
Smokes.
Today was the first day in New York. Unfortunately, huge gust hit us and we ended up capsizing. Gutted, to be honest, pretty upset about it all.
It's nearly going to go over, they need to save that.
I've never sailed in conditions like this in my life. Okay. East wing, east wing. Stop the boat, I'm full of water.
I love this job. So sick.
Right on, boys.
Team Japan did a little better than us, but we're still happy. We feel we're in the hunt.
No, we keep this up tomorrow. We'll be looking forward to that match race at the end and trying to get some revenge.
Hello and welcome to the banks of the Hudson River here in New York, where we have a very impressive skyline, but we've just added another impressive structure. This is the trophy that the first ever SailGP championship winners will take home, along with $1 million prize purse. But there's a lot of action to get through first. This is the city that never sleeps, and it certainly was last night for the British team. A battle to get their boat on the water. I'm joined here on the Liberty Landing by the multiple America's Cup veteran and a man who knows the F50 better than most, Matt Cornwell. The British boat is on the water and it is going to sail?
Yeah, that's the good news. These boats are very complicated and quite fragile, so the guys would have had to work really hard. So a mammoth effort, a bit of what we call midnight marine, got through the night and got it fixed. So that's the good news.
Okay, promises to be another exciting day of racing. Let's take a look at the leaderboard after day one, though. At the moment, we have a very similar situation to both Sydney and San Francisco. Japan are leading, but Australia just 1 point behind on the leaderboard, ready to pounce. Just 3 points separating China, France and the United States. Great Britain 4 points from each race, even though they weren't out on the water. So they still are in contention.
Welcome to day two here in New York. This is how the course looks. After the start, the boats reach over to the first mark, then they go downwind to the bottom gate, then back upwind to the top gate. They repeat as time allows, then reach into the finish.
Well, with the wind blowing from the northwest, it's coming over and around these giant skyscrapers in Jersey City, making massive lulls and huge gusts. There also is current coming down the Hudson River. I'm expecting better pressure on this left-hand side. Plenty for the sailors to think about.
My name is Jody Shields and I am joined in commentary by dual Olympic gold medalist Shirley Robertson. Shirley, day two is upon us.
Jody, you know, we're at the halfway stage of the season. There is no excuses now, and the teams know that. Add to that this tiny course, this unforgiving racetrack. There's going to be plenty of pressure. It's going to be great.
And the awesome news is that Great Britain are back out. That tech team from SailGP have done an awesome job to get that boat back on the water, so the fleet is complete again.
All 6 boats in great shape. USA also ready to go. They got a replacement wing trimmer. Their coach has flown in from Denmark. So lots of sport.
And you mentioned how tight it is. Look where they have to come up and set up for this start. The box is very, very tight. We've got New York City just off to their right-hand side, so they haven't got much room to get into the start.
With these difficult conditions, really hard to rely on the electronics. It's real seat of the pants sailing.
And here we go for the start. So it's China. Phil Robertson is getting down to the leeward side. Japan are in the middle, and we are away for race number 4. And it's a nice start there by China. Japan already doing 39 knots, heading over to this first mark.
Impressive start by the Japanese. You know, the top speed there. We heard them in the pre-start talking about pulling the trigger, about crossing that line as fast as they can, and they have nailed that.
They have indeed. France didn't have a very good start at all, but China and Japan are off over here, and it looks like Japan, the guy who won a couple of races yesterday, Nathan Outteridge and co, are going to be first in to this first mark, and then heading on down to a very, very tight bottom market. Not much room between that first drive mark and where we're going to be seeing them going into the gate. So it's Japan, then China. China's going early, so that's quite interesting. Japan is going with them. and you just see him not being able to go through that fluid pack. So it's very, very light, very, very patchy as it was yesterday.
You can see that light patch Japan is in. The water is glassy. Where we see the puffs, the shadow, that's where the maximum pressure is. China have stormed ahead.
They have indeed. That little early jive for China certainly paid off. Phil Robertson obviously seen a nice gust and decided to go in and has paid big dividends because it's China into the bottom mark for the first time. And away they go. They've got a handy lead for first lap, that's for sure.
Take that right-hand mark on the gate. You can see that massive amount of dark pressure there on the right-hand side. Hoping to pick that up.
And you can pick it out on the shot there. We've also got a continuing obstruction where there's a VIP boat in the course, so just something else for the boats to have to worry about. They can't go near it within 3 boat lengths. So the people on that boat will get an awesome view of these guys because they're coming in towards them as we speak. Japan very, very close there to the boundary, and they got a penalty, so they're going to cop. They're going to have to lose 1 boat length there. They'll be able to, should be able to wash that fairly quick, and it's been washed off already. So not too much of a penalty there that they had to cop for getting into that boundary.
Huge changes of pressure, and we hear them talking about it on board. We've had like down to 4 knots. To 25 knots, so imagine trying to deal with that on the boat. The coordination, the trim, keeping the thing on the wheels, keeping it trucking is not easy.
And they're already next to the top marks. So China still doing a great job. He led to the bottom. Phil Robertson and his crew have come out today pretty fired up, obviously. Japan have got a nice little bit of pressure over the right-hand side, so it's all about who can stay up on the foils and get to this top mark first. Have a go at Australia in the background there in a nice gust there. Just going to follow into Japan here, the bow shot there. You can see China very, very low. But like you said, they've just got to be patient. They've got to be patient.
The game is to link the puffs. Glide through those light patches, but keep your pace through the lulls. And Australians look right back in it.
That
Done a
commentary
great
curse
job.
for China. They were leading and they've just fallen into one of those lulls that you was talking about. Japan are doing the same. Australia, who were fair way back in 3rd, not that long ago, coming around the top mark in 1st place. Mr. Tom Slingsby and his crew are fired up for today.
How excruciating is it to be sitting there, the Japanese and the Chinese boat hardly moving, watching the Australians just sail away. Stay patient, boys, stay patient. See what the next gust, see where it's coming from.
I just don't think we were going to be able to attack.
It was interesting that Japan were looking at going at that right-hand gate, and they've bailed out of that and come to this left-hand one. Is that a little bit of Nathan and crew not wanting the Aussies to get away from him, or just trying to link these breezes up? Look at how compressed everything is all of a sudden. The breeze has just dropped off at the worst possible time.
Okay, should get flow here in a minute.
Japan might go straight up the back of Great Britain, who are parked at the top mark.
When it hits, it'll hit hard.
You know, when there's breeze, these boats fly on those massive foils, but when there's no breeze, that's a whole heap of drag under the boat. So hard to get it going.
And it won't be long here until this breeze will come in, because it looks like that left-hand side of the course is building up for a little bit of pressure, and Australia are just picking it up now. And you look by their boat speed already at 20, China 25 knots. So the breeze definitely went right. It'd be interesting if Japan would have stayed on that right-hand top mark. They would have picked that up first, so they'd be probably ruined that decision to bail out of that.
All the pre-start chat was about the left-hand side, Jody, but here, you know, you can't rely on history. You've got to sail in what you've got.
And these 3 boats have certainly got a bit of pressure. They're all heading downhill at 30-odd knots, with that spectator boat in the background. Australia just going over the top of Japan there as we speak. It won't take long. They're 200 metres away from this bottom mark. They're setting up now for Australia for a jibe, by the looks of it, to get into the gate. So it looks like they're going to go over to the right-hand gate as we look at it downhill, and they want to get back over to that Jersey side. He looked like he'd done it. He's a little bit low into that ley line there, so that cost him a little bit there, Tommy, and the Australian boat.
We can't see it in the shot, but he is obviously seeing something he likes on that left-hand side.
Well, let's just listen on board and see what they're saying here for a little while.
Trying to flatten, we've got diff. Yep, got diff.
So what they're saying there with diff, that's the differential between the two rudders. So that both rudders are on different angles to create. One creates lift, one creates downforce.
Alright, lock. At my wheel.
They're talking about the lift there, the angle that they are heading. A lift means that it takes you closer to the wind.
And Japan have done quite nice out of that. They're coming back over to the Jersey side. Australia in nice pressure as well. So that race between Australia and Japan just continues. Every race, these pairs seem to be up the top. And there's no doubt why, because we've got some of the best sailors on both of these boats. China are still in this race. It's good to see they haven't dropped off. They're punching it in for a podium at this stage. Great Britain, a big loser out of that little white patch at the top. They are well behind at this stage.
Okay, setting up here,
tactically for a sailor, this is so hard. You can't control the fleet, you can't sail the other boat. You just gotta look for the opportunities and take them, and just take your gut instinct.
It looks like Japan is setting up. They've just gone through, their last tack. That'll take them up to the gate for the second time. Another lap to go yet, so.
I think we're clear on Australia. All right. I'm happy to go right, Mark. Early job.
You just heard there Nathan Outteridge saying he thinks he's clear on Australia. He's going to go around the right mark, which he probably should have done in that first time, and just head on back in towards New York, because he feels the pressure is better out in that left-hand side of the course. He's actually extended his lead there, Shirley.
Here we go.
We've seen the Japanese team lead day one on both events so far, and obviously won yesterday. Can they hold on today?
It's interesting, they went right-hand gate, but they've gone an early jibe, so they must have just spotted a late gust coming off the Jersey side. They want to try and stay in and head back down to that bottom mark. Australia are really struggling to get up this top mark. It's a little bit confusing there on that shot, but Japan are still heading downhill. They've gone around through the top mark. Australia are just in line for the right-hand gate as they're looking at it. Left-hand gate from the bottom.
Okay, working it down.
China, will they sneak in here in a second? They made the zone first, so they've got all the rights.
Going forward.
Are they going to go across to that other gate? And yes, they are. They're going across to the right-hand side, so we're going to have a little bit of a split here between these two boats.
No rush.
But it's very soft up in this top mark. A lot of spectators on the water as well, so that won't be helping with the breeze, that's for sure.
Nice. They're dragging it on.
Looks pretty fast to me, Jody. They are romping along. And you know, when you're doing that kind of speed, the Hudson River is gets small pretty quickly.
Well, 10 knots to 35 in a blink of an eye. That's pretty amazing how quick these things can just get up and boogie, that's for sure.
Stand by, boys.
And here they're going to stand by for a jibe, so you see them running across. Oh, they're not happy. They've come into the jibe, not quite set up. So you hear Tommy groaning there with a little bit of disappointment. He wanted to try and nail his foiling jibe and chase his rival on the water, Nathan Outteridge, who is down to the bottom gate for the final time in this race. So one more upwind to go, and then the big screaming reach in towards the finish line.
Get the speed up, and then we'll take fairly soon. Okay, standing by. My wing.
Luke Parkinson there donning the blue zig for today. Very nice look there by Luke.
Just looking at Luke's gaze, he is locked on to the lured bow, just using that to help him judge balancing the platform, keeping the right height absolutely static.
And Australia are in and around the bottom and foiling quite nicely, so they've got good speed, 26, 27 knots. So they're holding on to that speed, which is very, very critical. As long as they can keep foiling, they can chase Japan. If they drop off the foils, Japan will just gap them off.
Overspud. Copy.
We've got Rome, Kirby, and the USA boat into third spot. Rome's got a new wing controller for today after his original wing controller hurt himself, hurt his back while they were getting off the mooring yesterday. So Tommy Johnson's on board there doing the wing control. Put him into third, so Rome would be happy with that after yesterday.
It seems so calm on the Japanese boat today. They really sort of found their groove. A lot less chat. They know what to do.
Don't think today is as nuclear as what yesterday was. The breeze doesn't seem to be coming over through them buildings and just exploding on the water, so it's making it a little bit easier for these guys to sail. But as you see from that shot, there's still fairly good gusts coming at them, and then light patches around. They're coming into a nice bit of breeze here. If you can see on that water, the dark patches on there, they're going to come into a nice bit of pressure just as they get around its final mark, and then head in towards the big crowds that are on the shore here in New York for a win for race number 4, if nothing goes wrong.
If you've been following the series, you'll be used to these boats flying a lot higher, but here they're sailing very differently, lower to the water. You want as much rudder as you can. You're not bow down either. You need rudder because you've got to steer around all the changes in wind angle and in wind velocity. So that's why you're seeing the difference.
That's a great shot of the boat, right up underneath the boat there as it was foiling off towards New York and towards a win for race number 4. They've just got a little bit of issue there. They dropped the windward hull in a little bit, but they've got enough lead. They've got a couple of 100-metre lead on Australia at this stage. Australia are low down in the boat speed, 15 knots going upwind. Japan are doing 25 knots coming into the finish for race number 4. Very, very close for another win. This will be the 3rd win for this series for Japan. They said they got a bit of redemption to get back from San Francisco. And they are happy on board. Listen to them. They're very happy. And there it is. Japan take race number 4 here in New York. Well done.
Hit me.
That was a great shot of that tack. How cool are these boats? I don't think I've seen anything cooler on the water, that's for sure. And Australia now just coming over, 25 seconds behind Japan. So they've done quite well. Japan, they've come out here short race, Shirley. They've got a bit of a lead.
I think Tom Slingsby and his team will be happy with that. He said to me this morning he just wants to lock in his place in the final today. So they're not necessarily pushing it, they just need nice, steady results. It's all about that final race later in the afternoon.
Oh, and just giving the boys a bit of a hose down there, right through the finish line. Well done, Australia. And here's the battle for the minors, 3rd, 4th and 5th. The podium for this race has not been decided yet. USA could sneak in. If they can get a nice little tack out of this low boat foiling, or low boat, both hulls in the water sort of action, who can tack best and get across to the finish. It's all about this tack, and it's all about who can get this breeze first. This is going to be a nice little finish here, Shirley.
Brits have a little bit more pace, so just coming down, protecting their air and protecting their position with the American boat.
And they'll be copping a little bit of wing wash. I mean, it's very light, so you're not going to cop too much. The Britons are off. Great British team off and running. Rome would be a little bit disappointed in that. We would have loved to have been getting up and falling and making this a nice little fight into the finish for 3rd place. But it looks like the Great British team are going to have 3rd in the bag. And after putting that thing in the water yesterday, Dylan and co will be pretty happy with that, there's no doubt.
Coming down before that mark.
The whole team up nearly all night, Jodie, putting it all back together. And remember, points, every race counts, so points are really, really important. We talk a lot about the final 2. All the points will be added together when we get to Marseille for that big finale.
So it's obviously hasn't hurt of mentally, you know, they've come out and they've got a 3rd spot, which is great to see. They've washed it off. They had their big spill. They've got that in the bag now. They're back out here racing. Nice bit of pressure. 34 knots heading in towards the finish line for a 3rd place for the Great British team. Well done, boys. Nice job. Rome Kirby there with his new wing trimmer, Tommy Johnson, coming in for 4th. They've done quite well.
2, 1.
Well, there's nothing green about Tom Johnson. He was the reserve wing guy at Oracle. Kyle Langford's backup. He knows these boats inside out, and he'd been training them all the way through.
That one go. At least we beat the two teams we need to beat. Yeah, nice.
So 3 from 4 for Nathan Outteridge, and he really is stamping his dominance on the Hudson River, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he just looked so calm and collected there, didn't he? I think even yesterday, even they were out of their comfort zone. Actually, I saw a couple of lads from the team, I won't mention names, having a beer after yesterday, and I think that was a bit of a nerve settler. But today, they just looked a lot more calm and controlled.
Certainly, I know that Nathan Outteridge said they thought they were quite noisy yesterday on the radios, but they went back and listened. On social media, you can see all of the different teams talking, and they realised that they'd actually been quite quiet and sounding quite confident on the boat.
I think it was all relative. I think everyone was panicking, and they were panicking the least.
And certainly that tells of Nathan's experience in the boat, that those really gusty conditions didn't unsettle them.
Yeah, and his confidence in his two generals right next to him in Parko and Goobs, Ian Jensen and Luke Parkinson, and the time they've had together.
Yeah, if you don't know already, in sailing, it is absolutely chock full of nicknames. I won't give you Matt's, you can go and find that out for yourself. Parko and Goobs. Looking a bit further down the fleet, not a stellar race for Tom Slingsby at all. That's one he'll want to forget, I imagine.
Yeah, I guess so, but I mean, he's still a second, so even though he's having troubles, it's still a banker, and he's still looking like, you know, he's going to make, can't say it yet, but, you know, good for that match race.
We are back for the fleet race here in New York, and it's all to play for. The weather is still 27 degrees, 13 knots, and a small chop. So surely the race, the final fleet race is upon us here in New York. And the big news is...
There's big news. We know who's in the final. It is Japan and Australia, but a massive battle for that third place between China, USA and France. It is all on to secure that final place on the podium. We're going to expect a big battle here.
And once again, it's interesting where these guys have had to set up from. There's not enough room behind the start line, so they've all come in from the race course side. And it looks like Great Britain are trying to get into the bottom end of the line. Australia attacking. Maybe they'll try and hold up Japan here. Japan are sort of sliding down. Great Britain have parked in, which is going to stop Japan being able to pull their bows away. Rome Kirby's already loaded up here, Shirley.
It's not about positioning, it's about pace. Keep an eye on those boat speeds.
Big trim, boys.
They've done it right there to get over the bow of Great Britain there in Japan, and we are off for the final race. 3 boats have parked it, 3 boats are on their way, and it is USA leading by Japan, and France are also in the mix this time. Great Britain off the line pretty much last with China, and Australia, are they just conserving energy? Do they know that they're already into the final? Of course they do.
I think, Jody, they just got all mixed up with other boats. Big mistake.
And it's a nice race here into the first mark, with Japan just getting inside of Rome Kirby in the USA. So Japan around first, Rome Kirby into second. France, great job by France to be up there in third. And Australia are chasing hot in fourth. Have a go at how quick they're going to get once again down to that bottom mark. Both boats doing a nice job there. Australia probably need to get a good job. Looks like they're in a great path. They might be able to get on the inside of France, who looks like they've got a little bit of a problem trying to manoeuvre through that jibe. So I'd say they've lost their third spot there, France. But it's Japan into the bottom mark first. USA in second, and the Aussies are chasing. Because Tommy Slingsby knows that it's all still. You still need to gain points. Every point matters.
I think they saw, you can see that puff of wind coming down. I think that's why they've all gone round that left-hand side, using the puffs to get up to the top mark.
And that's a great illustration there. Keeping a boat speed in, Australia just went straight in underneath this USA boat, which we're on board now.
What's going on? I don't know. Setting up, trimming up. Yours, trimming up. Go hard.
It's interesting there. Just saying they might have some sort of an issue. They can't quite identify what. Rome's just tacking off. France need to be careful here. They need to tack as well. Here we go, port and starboard. Very, very close here between USA and France. France, there's a late, very, very late tack on France. Gonna have to get a penalty there, surely. Rome and the USA team was still inside that boundary, or that protected boundary. You can hear Billy Besson there, very, very animated there, Shirley. That was very close indeed.
I mean, the American boat didn't give him a massive amount of opportunity to take, you know, to avoid him, and he's not happy. We're just waiting to hear from the umpires.
Yeah, it looks like at this stage that we haven't seen a penalty, so they must be thinking it's all clear. So he's done a great job there, Billy Besson and the team from France, to throw that thing on the inside of the USA boat. So they're now racing in for second spot. Looks like they've got a nice little pressure off that right New York side of the course. And just as we say that, off the foils they come. So we're even getting confused with what's going on out here in this course. So it's about who can get up to this mark in a low boat mode. But the team that's still leading is the Japanese, and they'll go across to that right-hand gate.
You can see the yellow circles on the water. Whoever hits that yellow circle, the zone first, has all the rights to make the turn.
Have a go at Australia. They just took both those boat sterns because they were on port. Tommy threw it up into the wind, in and around, and chasing Japan for second. So he's come from fourth to second in a heartbeat. Look at this race. This is the race for third.
Oh,
USA
the Americans
versus
just squeezed round.
France are going over to the right-hand side where Australia have parked. There's no breeze there at this stage. USA, will this be the big move? Can they come across this right-hand side? Local boys, surely they know what's going on out here, Shirley.
They are flying. Jody, imagine you're American and you're sailing here, right in front of Manhattan, potentially about to win a medal.
They've got a Lady Liberty on their wing. They are sailing for that home team, and here they go into the jibe. Japan look nice out in that middle part of the course, but they have done well. They've got themselves into second by just going to that left-hand gate at the top.
But Jody, look at the French. Look at the top of your screen, ladies and gentlemen. The French are coming back in that massive puff of wind, the big shadow that we see.
Billy Besson is fired up. He threw it underneath Rome there in the USA boat on that little port starboard incident, and he is coming downhill at a great rate.
Yep, keep it on the breeze. It's going to be headed.
They want to get this, they want third. There's no doubt about that. They want it hard.
Oh, but Jody, he's running out of pressure. You can see the speed dropping.
Okay, fly her up.
He's got to do a really late jibe here. He's going to go past the actual, what we call the ley line, and it's going to be another boat-on-boat here incident between, I can't believe it, USA and France. They are just chasing each other everywhere they go. USA are going uphill. France have gone completely past the marks.
I'm not sure what happened on that French boat. They needed to jibe, and they didn't. They must have had a problem on board.
Oh, either that or it just comes up to him so quick, that bottom mark, because his course is so short. So a little tiny little lapse in concentration, and you fly past the mark. Look who's last or second last in this race. The Aussies. They were second around the top mark and parked it.
The star of the show here is the American boat. Currently in first, right off Manhattan. It's a good moment.
He did say that he was pretty fired up to go out there and show him that he means business today after losing his wing trimmer yesterday, and the whole program got thrown up in the air. Rome Kirby is definitely delivering here as we speak on the Hudson River.
It means a lot to finish third. You know, the Australian team and the Japanese, very experienced sailing these boats. The other teams are playing catch-up, and boy, they are catching up quickly.
They certainly are. But we've still got another upwind and half an upwind and another leg to go. So as we've seen, there's been about 6 million different lead changes already. I'm guessing there's going to be some more.
I got the bear weight, my rig. Your rudders. Yeah.
But USA have got a great lead there, Shirley.
The stand-in wing trimmer here arrived at Newark Airport at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Power me up.
Changing his wetsuit on the plane.
Long way. Getting close here, probably.
We'll just listen to what they're saying here with his job. This will be nice comms.
Gotta go, Romy. Yep.
And they've let us down. There's nothing for them to say. They're just gone. Thank you very much, Rome, for that. That's awesome.
Yep. Okay, go board. Teach. Yours.
Stand by popping too.
Yep.
Popping now.
Nice. My rig.
Yeah,
Good job there. They just touched down in that jibe, so there's just enough breeze for them to go not quite a full foil, but they're still back up and falling, which is, just as I say that, we've dropped off, so big light patch in the middle.
Dude, it's so hard. The coordination between the flight controller, the wing trimmer, and the helmsman. It's like driving a car and looking at the sat-nav, and someone else doing the gears and the accelerator and the brake. It is so difficult to coordinate.
I got it.
Got nice pressure there. You can see them bow down in towards that bottom mark, so they're still leading.
There's good pressure over our left shoulder, so
This is last bottom mark, as you just heard there from USA.
And good pressure over their shoulder. They're happy where they are.
New territory for Rome, Kirby and the team from USA. Nathan Outteridge in Japan are not going to let him have it all his own way, because they are coming down here in an absolute beauty of a gust, and have gone from a long way behind to 1.5 to 2 boat lengths to right behind him, straight over the top of Japan, USA. That is very close once again. Oh my God.
The Japanese have to keep clear. They're coming in from behind, no rights. They had to keep clear.
They were so close. The whole hull was right over the top of USA. And look who's back in the mix. USA, Australia, Japan. This race is not over, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Do not go anywhere. This could be anything.
yours.
Popping 2, 1, popping out.
Yep, mine.
Still done a nice job tacking. Done a nice job tacking off that shore. Here's the replay. You see Japan coming right from behind him. Heaps and heaps of speed. Get a lot of height out of that thing. Drops down in the water, straight up underneath the rudders again of the USA. Very similar to what happened in San Francisco with the Aussie side.
My rig.
Yes.
That was pretty insane.
Just got no wind compared to them.
Tommy's complaining about no wind. USA in plenty of wind. 35 knots as opposed to 25 knots at boat speed of Japan. So here's the race. It looks like it's going to be between USA and Japan.
Line.
Power me up.
Fully powered up, bro. Yep. Middle Eastern jib, nice. Good pressure at the mark.
We got a good. Oh no.
We're good. We're good.
We're hearing the comms between the wing trimmer and the helmsman. Really calm on board. Nice job.
So they have to nail this tack. They've done a really good job separating now with Japan. It was all about a race. Now, USA have to do a good tack and hopefully get breeze. Can Australia get breeze from down below? They're up and got one hull out of the water, just dropped it back down as we spoke. They're going to come in towards China here, so they're almost an obstruction in the middle of the course. Japan have to go around China. Australia have to go around China. In the meantime, USA are around the top mark and heading in towards the finish for what will be a historic first win for Team USA on their home water, Shirley.
Your rig.
My rig.
It's not over yet, Jody, but they will get the biggest cheer in Manhattan when they cross that line. What a weekend they've had. You know, they lost their vital crew member yesterday, and today to pull this win out the bag would be quite something. To take third here in New York City, that's a day for memories.
There will not be a prouder American than Rome Kirby. If he can pull this off, he will be loving it. He's looking back. He's very, very nervous. He's like a young boy at his first dance. He doesn't know what to do. He just wants that boat up and falling and heading in towards the finish here to New York, and that's exactly what's going on. He's just getting it up now.
Yeah. Got it. I got it.
Hold back.
And you can hear them. They just want to get it up and get it going. Japan have done a nice job by separating.
Take your boys. Take one.
Finish it strong. You hear it there from Tommy Johnson. A lot of pressure on the flight controller. Don't get it wrong now. We've got 100 metres to go, and USA are about to get their first win. Ladies and gentlemen, get up and clap, because there it is.
First race win. There we go. In the bag. Nice job, boys.
We heard you, Jody. That is a big moment for this young man and his team. Good job.
Yeah, wasn't ideal.
Well done to them.
Nice job, boys. Awesome work, boys. Nice one.
Coming in to second spot is Japan, but they've sealed the deal for the final. They know that they're in that final match race with that nemesis once again.
Nice work,
Tommy Slingsby in Australia. 3 events, 3 of the similar match race components. Who's going to take this one, Shirley?
That's a tough one. You know, Tommy Slingsby goes into a different mode. He sees the red mist. He's a great combat kind of sailor, and I think they'll be rebooting in between these races and come out firing.
Here's a nice story with Great Britain coming over the finish line for 4th after a disaster yesterday. That's a nice little finish for them, the team from Great Britain. Well done.
Stand by.
Well, what a little race. We would have had, what, 10 different lead changes? It was pretty intense there for a while. Boats were very close. Outteridge going over the top of the USA boat at that bottom mark. It was all on. There was definitely a lot happening, that's for sure.
Disappointment for China, though, Jody. I mean, they went into that last race in the 3rd spot. I had a great day yesterday, really showing, you know, new form and consistency, and just didn't string it together.
You've seen them at the top mark when the leaders went through. They literally were parked. They just seemed to find a lot of holes, and that's got to be tough. Anyway, not for these guys. The USA team, they would be absolutely stoked.
One of the really challenging thing with this series and with this boat is that there's no other boats you can practice on that are even remotely similar. So you have to maximize the really short amount of times that you get to practice, and it's tough for the teams that are less experienced. They're learning quick, but it's a steep learning curve.
It is, and they'd be happy that Tommy Johnson jumped on that plane to help them out. He's their wing trim coach, so he obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, backup wing trimmer for Oracle in the last America's Cup. He knows his job. He's one of the elite in that role, and was with his girlfriend in Denmark. She had to come too. I think he sold it as, you know, a romantic break in New York.
Just sit on the foreshore and watch me sail for a while. And you can see here the breeze has really died off. France are just really struggling to get into that finish line there, Shirley. So hopefully there's breeze for this match race.
What a fantastic bit of racing. That is what Sir Russell Coutts had in mind when he came up with the SailGP concept. It was everything that we wanted to see, wasn't it? So much close racing.
Yeah, and I think that's what we really thought we were going to get a lot of in New York, so it was great to see it there in that race. And, you know, shorten the course down, more even conditions. We talked about the boats being their comfort zone. That meant, you know, the sort of back markers in the regatta were doing much better, and it got it all close. And, yeah, there was a lot to talk about there. There was a lot of incidents.
Well, first up, you've got to say the redemption for Rome Kirby and the USA boat. He knows how well he can sail this boat, and it must have been so frustrating yesterday, but finally he's got the edge and he's managed to prove what he can do with it.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Rome and the boys. I mean, that's great on your home ground. What a nice way to finish the regatta. We saw their onboard communications yesterday, how uncomfortable they were, you know, with the new guy in the wing, with Jeff in the wing trimmer position, and having to deal with that. They just had to get through the day, damage limitation. They got through that, and now they finished the regatta with a home win in New York in front of the crowd. It was brilliant.
Well, there was a lovely analogy in the commentary there from Shirley Robertson. She was talking about having 5 men in the boat. It's like driving a car with one person working the clutch, the other on the gear stick, one on the brakes, one on the accelerator, and the other one steering and looking where you're going.
Yeah.
And it shows the moment you take one of those components out, it wrecks everything. You put Tom Johnson back in there and you suddenly see how that boat can go for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it a little bit in the last race. It's still difficult for him because he's not been doing that, you know, throughout the year. But a great job by him, and he's a very talented sailor. So, yeah. Well done, USA.
The one team that we haven't talked about are the British, and I think Dylan Fletcher and the crew deserve some plaudits because they're essentially 3 races behind everyone here, and he's got a 3rd and a 4th place under his belt.
Yeah, that's very true. They've done very little sailing here when you look at it. They lost a training day because of the weather, so they've had 1 training day, and then they were straight into the racing today. They didn't have all that, you know, learning that the guys had on the course yesterday, and you know they've had a good day really. Yeah, well done, Dylan. They're very talented. It's good to see them back out there, and there's good things in the future from those guys for sure.
Salvaged some much needed points as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's look at that big rivalry, though. This has been simmering gently since the press conference on Thursday, when Tom Slingsby started to just needle Nathan Outteridge a little bit. They're old friends, but there's no love lost here, is there?
No, there isn't. There's a lot on the line, and I think it's sort of...
There's $1 million on the line.
There's $1 million on the line, and
you
a massive
called it
trophy,
yesterday, the $1 million friendship.
Yeah. And it's a funny one because they were talking about how the press is making a lot out of it, but I think the more you hear it from the press and you kind of buy into it a little bit, and I think, you know, some of the things they're saying now, their heads are in that space too, that there is a bit of a rivalry here. They're going to have to shut their friendship off for this year at least, and just, you know, it's all about the racing, and that guy I need to, you know, I'm going to beat up on that guy this year, and he's not my friend a little bit for a while.
Okay, well, it promises to be a very, very interesting matchup. The match race is up next, and it's the 2 old foes, Japan versus Australia.
Here is the weather for the match race. It's going to be between Japan and Australia, and the weather is as follows. It is currently 81 degrees Fahrenheit, 14 knots, no chop, and we are about to get into it. Here we go. This is for all the bragging rights and the overall victory here in New York City. Welcome, Shirley. It is on.
This is the match. The Japanese have lost the last 2 finals. They are here for redemption.
They just said 3rd time lucky. Will it be 3rd time lucky for Japanese, or will it be 3 in a row for Australia? Australia coming in from the right-hand side as we are looking at it.
They get to enter 10 seconds before the other boat, but they were late. They got caught in a lull, and now they're vulnerable.
We're just going to build some pace first now that they're through. Stay to leeward, Leo.
And the pressure is
ready?
very, very light, so they've got to not get a penalty. That's the first thing they've got to worry about. Don't get a penalty by the other boat. Try and hit that start line clean, and let's make this an absolute beauty of a race to see who can win here in New York City.
High in the box, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Very, very soft there, Australia.
Just over to the wall.
Japan, they're outside the start line. That's not an issue. They can get back in. Australia just taking off in towards the crowd. 1 minute 13 to go.
110.
On board, you'll hear them. They talk about time to burn, time to the line. But normally they have confidence in the electronics in the computers. But now, with the wind up and down like this, they've got to just seat of the pants.
It looks to me like they both want the bottom end of the line because they can shoot them down as hard as they can, down in towards the wall. Somebody's got to give here.
Maybe go behind.
Better attack soon, or we might not be in any sort of a race. Bow on bow. Little bit of a stare off there between the 2 skippers. Australia have to get in around that marker. They want to get in behind Japan. There's 34 seconds to go, so they're not going to break the start, that's for sure, because they're a long way from this start line. They're just trying to be the most lured boat.
Oh, I think the Australians were trying to be too clever, trying to get that hook, trying to get behind, and got really slow.
16, 15, 14, 13.
Japan just trying to hold up. Now Australia's put his bow down. Can he get underneath him and get the hook? And I think he's done it, Australia. I think he's got the hook. Japan had to get out of the road. They've said flag. Will they get a penalty on him here? Be very, very, very interesting. Clear start, clear start. Penalty to Australia, so Australia have to get in behind Japan. Surely, straight off the cuff, we have a drama.
Oh, well, we'll hear from the umpires, but he came in really aggressively, and it looked like the Japanese team tried all they could to keep clear.
So now he has to slow up, so Nathan Outteridge and co can just go flat out towards that mark. Will they try and play a little bit of fox here and push him down into the box? He's just going hell for leather.
He can go again when the Japanese are one boat length ahead, and we see him already beginning to accelerate.
And the penalty is off, so we are back to live racing. No penalties for either boat now. Japan, the leading, coming into the first mark. And away they go. So off they go. Very, very short racetrack, remember. Setting up for a dive now is Japan, and Australia chasing 33 knots in very, very light pressure. No pressure at all. Port starboard here. Australia's going to go a protest. Will they get it off? They put a protest in. You can hear that on the comms. Both boats in no pressure, but surely.
This is a race that's not going to be over till they cross that line. Never give up. There's always a path to get you back into this.
And we still haven't seen what the outcome of that protest is. So maybe it's all clear. We'll soon wait. This is the start. You see Australia coming up underneath the Japanese boat. Obviously never give them enough room to get in around. They might have even touched.
It's easy to hook. It's easy to hook on these boats because as you turn up, you go faster. In traditional monohulls, you'll go slower, but you'll go faster.
And they did. There's definitely a touch there. You watch Australia come up underneath. Japan had to throw it around. But look at this. We're back to live racing, and Australia have got in front of Japan to have a nice, healthy lead. So they got into that breeze first. Now Australia are in control. How quickly, like you said, things can change.
Nathan Outteridge is the wind whisperer, though. If there's a puff of wind, they are gonna find it. This race will carry on.
Japan tacking first, Australia following suit. Normally you just got to be between your competitor and the next mark, but it ain't that easy on this course.
This is not formulaic match racing. Tom Slingsby, he is a master at it, a real kind of street fighter. He loves it. He said to me this morning, if he has to capsize in this race, he will. He's going to push it all the time.
He's going to capsize before he gets over the finish line, because that'll hand it to Nathan Outteridge and the Japanese team. And it is still both boats coming over towards the left-hand side of the course, away from the New York side. Japan just got a big knock, so can they tack and get a little bit of pressure off the Jersey side? Australia in the same, similar sort of pressure there by the looks of it. Flying pretty high there, Australia.
Stand by. Pressure on out of this post. Yeah. All down. Build, Tommy, build. 2, 1, lock. Turning. Big puff here. Yep.
I mean, that was a good spot, Jody. They're sailing higher, they're taking more risk. Really punchy sailing from both the boats.
So by the looks of that, Australia have done a nice job to keep in front of Japan, but they have stopped in the water. Can Japan get something from the left-hand side? Looks like they might be just starting to try and fly a bit of a hull. They're chewing the gap between Australia and Japan. 2-1, 3-1 difference in speed here.
Japanese doing 13 knots, Australian doing 9. As you say, the gap is closing. We don't normally see this mode, this one hull in the water mode, but here it's been crucial. It's upwind sailing mode.
Both boats look very similar now in boat speeds. That little bit of an advantage that Japan got. They closed the gauge. They made a race back of it. Australia attacking. They want to get back over the Jersey side.
Oh, slow, painful tack.
After what we've seen yesterday, we've seen this nuclear breeze just coming in. The breeze has died off just to make this even more of a suspensive race.
Better back the other way, but
Japan have to tack too, so you would think both boats are going to go around this left-hand gate. You wouldn't think Japan would want to do too many more
Might get a little
manoeuvres.
hook up here. That's the way.
Just try it here. Let's try to pop. Copy.
Just trying to pop. They're trying to downwind. There's only two modes. It's two hulls in or both hulls up. And you know, when they say pop, they're trying to pop the
Little
hulls
hook up here.
up. But it requires a big change in course.
See him there setting up for a jibe. So he's thinking that he can get around and hopefully get a little bit of pressure out of the middle. Japan have followed suit, so they've obviously seen the same breeze. Who will get the breeze first, Shirley? Up and falling, and you're almost going to be guaranteed. Well, nothing's guaranteed in this race, but I'd rather be falling than both holes in, that's for sure. Have a go how painful this
Talk to them
is.
about flow.
5 knots. Just waiting. Look to the left-hand side. Japan, bit of pressure coming in on him.
The darker water to the left-hand side of the screen coming down. Japan are going to get that first, Jody.
Here we go. Pressing on this.
My right.
Yep.
Pumping. Don't come down too early.
There's still more ahead of us.
So you're right there, Shirley. Japan have got it. Up and foiling at Japan, so lead change, ladies and gentlemen.
Minimise dip,
Japan now in front. Australia will be hating life right now. He needs to get that pressure and get them bows away and start chasing Japan, who are heading downhill at 36 knots. Australia now in the pressure. Can both boats stay in this pressure all the way to the bottom? Who would know?
Yeah, let's go dip in now. Dip coming slowly.
This is only the second lap. They've still got another lap to do up here.
Coming down to the gate, though, they have to defend this position. Get to that yellow circle first. You've got all the rights.
So there they are, into that yellow circle, as you said. Japan around first. Australia around second. Looks like Japan are going to go over towards the New York side of the course. There's a little bit of pressure coming in around the bottom of that spectator boat that's in the middle of the course. Remember, these guys can't go near it. It's a 3-boat length zone obstruction. It's a moving obstruction, so to speak, in the middle of the course. Australia tacked off early. Japan look like they're in nice pressure. Can they do a foiling tack here?
Crazy puffs here. You know, sailors who are watching, normally you can see the wind, but these puffs that are arriving, they're dropping down from above. There's no substance to them. Really difficult.
He's lined up so well with the pressure. He's going to make a huge game.
You just heard off the boat there, Tommy Slingsby saying Japan are going to make nice gains. That would not be impressing Tommy
It'll probably be a
all.
right turn. Little puff here, I'm going to press through it.
The Japan are going to
I'm
get
not going to worry
into
about the
this
marks
breeze.
because he's definitely not late.
You hear that?
If we can get it,
Japanese
great. If we
boat
can't,
gaining
looks like there's
all
good
the time
pressure
here.
on the course
the
boundary
time.
at the moment. Going into much lighter stuff here, Parko.
We've been late on the board drop every left turn.
They're dropping now, the Japanese, Jody.
He's going to go right.
Dropping down. The speed is coming down. 12 knots for Japan. 26 for Australia.
And they have stopped, as you said there, Shirley. They've absolutely stopped. Australia need to nail this tack. Get some pressure from the left-hand side, from the Jersey side, and come in at a great rate of nice to close this gauge up and to bring this race back into a close one, which is what we all want to see here in the final of New York. That is for sure.
Going forward.
They look all right there, Shirley.
I
Can
can
they
see
get up
the
and
pressure.
pop?
They're calling it.
Here he goes, bow down a little bit to get that thing up and foiling. And they're going to be foiling, and Japan in front have parked it up on the tack. 6 knots now. Can they get in and around?
Right turn. Could be early job though, okay?
Nathan's pretty happy that he's going to get up and go to the right-hand side. But as you heard off the comms, maybe an early jibe to try and stay in that puff that he's just got now, Shirley.
Keep it calm. Link the puffs together.
All that will be running through his head now is revenge, revenge, revenge from San Francisco. He said in all the comms he didn't think that Australia beat him. He said we actually, we lost it because of gear failure. Is this the race where they're going to come back and finally take a win away from Australia in a final match race? We've got 2 more legs to go, Shirley. Japan heading downhill for the final time. Can they stay in the lead?
Okay. All the way to boundary. There's not a
Is
whole
it too
lot on the
early to
inside, so
call
we're
it?
going to go as far as we can
300
here.
metre lead, Shirley. Are you brave enough to call it?
Okay, it's saying play line
300
now, so
metres
standing by.
and growing.
Going forward.
It's going to be tough to come back for Tommy Slingsby.
If they can stay in this pressure, which they're just about to go through the job now, and get into the bottom mark, they've gone from a very, very tightish race to absolutely extending
Crossing the gate, my
300,
right.
400, 500 metres.
Yeah, happy to cross the gate.
Jody, the Japanese are flying to this bottom gate for the last time, over 30 knots.
My right, are you clear to go now?
Yours. We're almost on the upward angle here, Goobs.
Yep.
And you hear Nathan saying we're almost on the
Pretty
upwards.
soft too, Parker.
So that might tell you there's a little bit of pressure from that right-hand
All
side.
the
It looks
way, I
like a
think.
puff, or a bit of wind, sorry, on the right-hand side of that committee boat where they're heading. So
We're
if they
just
can
giving
stay
it
in
down.
that,
It's calling
the
20
Australians
seconds.
would not be liking the fact that they are extending
Nice grinding there,
towards
boys.
that top mark.
Okay. Standing by, my
Every
wing.
single metre. Australia are just hoping that they can get something from that
Turning.
left.
Yep.
Here they go, Japan tacking now. And have a look at the left-hand side of the VIP boat. Another big puff coming down the course.
Top the wing, yep,
So it's
nice.
all
Pressure
shaping
down,
up
come
here
back
for
in, Goobs.
Japan, Shirley.
You know, if you're in the Japanese boat, just avoid those big lulls. That's Tommy Slingsby's only hope.
My right.
Yours. Little lifting pressure coming, I think.
He looks confident. He looks confident, but it's pretty hard to be confident on
Support
this
up all the
course. There we are, look at that to his right-hand side. Big puff of breeze. Will they get through it, or will that pick them up?
Pressure seems okay if we just keep going at the moment.
He's happy to keep going.
Oh, Jody, I called
He's
him the
gonna
wind
get us
whisperer.
lit.
The wind
But I think we
whisperer.
just got to
And he
keep
is
going.
not disappointing. The puffs are
Coming in the
just
ball
coming
now.
to him.
Boundary should be an issue for
At this stage, that boy from Wanji is definitely a little wind whisperer because he is leading
Tough on, boys.
the match race here in New York.
Watching boundary.
Australia haven't given up. There's
Just gotta
no
go
way
all
he'll
the way
give
to
up.
make
Tommy
sure that
Slingsby and his crew,
the further we go, the better it
They
gets.
don't
I'm
know
just
how to
looking
give
at
up.
feet just to boundary, not time now.
but they're slowly but surely losing time, losing opportunity. This could be Japan's
standing by,
final
my
attack. Stay on board, hopefully, and you'll hear some nice
Got a
comms
turn
of
for the
going for
boundary.
this attack.
Turning.
Yep, good. Oh, rake
My wheel. I got rake, buddy.
Yep.
You got full tempo yet?
You just hear a little bit of
easy-
disappointment
easy
in
lay
Luke
at the
Parker's
moment.
voice there because he couldn't quite get it
All
through
right.
the tack on a full
Looks
foil,
okay for the reach too, boys.
but they're happy that they're going to go up. Australia coming back here. Australia are
on fire.
closing the gauge. You've got a nice little bit of pressure from the right. Will they have
You're on
enough?
fire.
That shot there
Little
tells me
roll
no
and a
because they're
big
going
squirt.
straight into the
One
gate.
Big squirt here.
And a big squirt. Nathan's called a nice bit of pressure
Really
to take them
soft
in
after
towards the
mark by
finish.
looks of it.
Copy.
And there you have it. Any opportunity Australia have now
Give them a dip.
is slowly but surely diminishing
two, one
because
going
Japan
softer.
are around the
I'll press
top
into it a
mark
bit.
for the
Softer
final
here.
time and heading in towards the finish. What can they do?
Still soft. Pressure coming back in 5. Keep posted.
This unique event in New York City was always going to be won by the team who could maneuver the best, could change modes quicker than anyone else. And what we are watching here is a masterclass in how to sail your F50 in really difficult changing conditions.
Starting to feel it.
It's a joy to watch.
And more on us now. Big one.
Listen to their team radio. Listen to
Fire
their
up,
voice
Parker.
starting to get excited.
Here we go.
Couple of waves.
Copy.
Yeah, boys.
They're pumped.
Softer in 5. Copy that.
I'll come up. There's more stuff higher.
Here's the lull. Go, boys.
That's awesome. These boys are very, very pumped.
Yeah,
Coming
boys.
into the finish. So here they go towards the light that's shining on the water
We get a
from
speculator
Freedom
test?
Tower.
Yep.
Japan are just about to win here in New York City. Well done, Japan. That is quite an
Right
effort.
at the mark.
Yeah, copy.
2. 1.
Mate, oh, yep, got it.
They flew to victory. They schooled the rest of the fleet. That is a result. Just look at
buddy.
the joy on their face.
Right on.
Nice, nice.
All weekend.
Revenge has been served.
Finally.
Well done, Goobs.
Yeah, buddy.
That's impressive, Shirley. Well done to Team Japan. After what happened in San Francisco, you can't say they were duped. They were unlucky by tech issues. They swallowed it. They've copped it. They've come here to New York City, revenge was always their catch cry, and they have taken revenge, there's no doubt about it. You've got to feel for the Aussies, this up and down pressure. It's a very hard racetrack, being very, very small. Just didn't go their way today. Look at them, they're going absolutely nowhere. So there's a little bit of an anticlimax there for the Australians. Would have been nice for them to be two-boat reaching into that final finish. So Shirley, how's that for an event?
Oh, it has had everything, hasn't it? I mean, Tom Slingsby, he really took it to Nathan in that pre-start, and you know, he was aggressive, and he paid for that. And maybe we would have a different result if he hadn't had that penalty. But that's what he's like. He's a street fighter. He's a prize match racer. Nathan, though, just kept his cool. He sailed fast, and they sailed so well. Wow, this is going to run and run, isn't it, till we get to Marseille?
I can't see any other scenarios except for these pairs. Well, who knows? But yeah, they're certainly showing their dominance on the fleet. You know, they've shown that no matter what conditions are thrown at them, these two boats always seem to rise to the top. So, you know, the other teams, they've got a bit of work to do, as they all know. But Australia drifting in ever so slowly in towards this finish line.
Just shows the kind of racing they need.
And you feel like you need to go out there and just tow them into the finish and stop the pain that they are suffering here in Australia.
Okay, it's fun, we will get going. There we go.
Here they go, little bit of pressure coming in on the left-hand side. So at least they might get up and foil into the finish. You don't want them to drift. There they go. Come on, get it up and foil in towards. Look at the crowd in New York there. Everyone's come out to check out these exciting bits of kit on the water. They certainly haven't been disappointed. The race has been pretty insane, that's for sure.
This has been the most challenging venue yet, and these two teams have really showed us how it's done. Very impressive to see. There we go, Australia in second place here in New York.
One. Oh, yep, good.
Have a go at that. Some very, very happy sailors and support people on that boat. That is for sure. How do you think Japan will be feeling right now? The country of Japan will be so proud.
This is a good moment. Japan is a massive sailing nation, and these guys have a huge following. And to finally get that victory, it's important.
Plenty of Kodak moments going on right now. The team holding the Japanese flag.
New York SailGP.
Practice.
Well, Lisa, what a race, and we can hear you and see you on the F50 with Nathan.
It's done really well all weekend. It's obviously super tricky. You know, we've been looking for a bit of payback for a few events now, so it's a very happy feeling right now.
So it's, you know, you're an important guy at the back, but how was important the guys in front of you?
Well, you can see we've got a full lineup here. We've been rotating. Really difficult, super powerful at the front. The flight control and wing trimmer Goobs and Parker did a fantastic job. You know, everyone talks about how I'm the guy driving the boat, but I literally just turn it left and right. These guys do all the hard work, and, you know, without such a good support team, we wouldn't be able to do it. So, effort, and really proud of the guys.
So, how are you guys feeling?
Well, I think we were a little bit behind in Sydney. I think here we're just slowly getting better and better. So, you know, it's a brand new team, a lot of. So, you know, I'm really happy that the way things are going, and, you know, one more event and then Marseille's the main target.
Enjoy the celebrations. Well, GP!
The smell of champagne is the smell of victory. Japan triumphant here on the Hudson River at the midpoint of the SailGP Championship. 2 events left, and Nathan Outteridge has taken a step closer to that trophy. Next, we move to Cowes in the UK, where the British team will be on home water. We will see you there. Wow, what a race. Of all of the match races we've seen so far this season, that was the most impressive. So much to talk about, Matt. The start alone, we gave it a little bit of a tease beforehand, but a real game of cat and mouse there.
Yeah, we saw the start of the race, we saw some good old-fashioned match racing going on there right from the pre-start. And we sort of talked about the danger of pushing to put a penalty on someone else. I mean, you know, they got a long way away from the line here. Slingsby doing a nice job of their timing, but they did see an opportunity a little bit later on here. We'll see after the Japanese, they go through attack.
It felt like Australia were poised here with a little more run-up. Like
yes.
It looked for a second like the Australians were going to slip underneath the Japanese and get steal on the line.
That's right. They were happy to let the Japanese lead back to the line and see if there was an opportunity to get underneath them, which there was. And it was a really good opportunity. And all they had to do really is come up inside them, not necessarily force a penalty on them, but they'd be able to hold them up there and head for the start line when they wanted to. See if they hear him talk about it here, but certainly, look, there's the opportunity. He's gone for it, but he just got a little bit overzealous, and he came in too close and he's clipped it, and that's because he is trying to put a penalty on him, I believe. Well, it wasn't quite here, it's a little bit later on, but he thought he might be able to get a penalty on to him. He came in just a little bit too close, clipped him, and that put a penalty on himself. He can't have contact, and once you acquire rights on a boat, you have to give him room to keep clear too, and that's where he got that wrong.
Well, Shirley Robertson's been calling Nathan Outteridge the wind whisperer, but despite having to give, after the penalty, Australia gave Japan a boat length, but then Tom Slingsby fired back down to that downwind mark and pulled away.
Yeah, and then we see the match racing becoming less of a priority for these guys. And it was, as Lisa talked about, the snakes and ladders out there. It's that old metaphor. I think they call it chutes and ladders here in the USA, but that was what was really out there again. And, you know, it was all tactically about sailing the course well.
Okay, it was a brilliant race, and we finished with both Japan and Australia in the defining moment was when Japan managed to get up on the foils first and tear away on that first downwind leg.
Yeah, and you can call it luck a little bit. It was definitely... It helped to be behind, because that's where the pressure was coming from. The big puff came in. They were the first ones to get it, and that just allowed them to roll straight over the top of slingers there and get ahead. But they did a really good job then of staying in the lead, and that wasn't easy for them, let's face it.
Okay, so finally, smiles for the Japanese team as they take their maiden victory in the SailGP Championship. And it means the world to Nathan Outteridge. Tom Slingsby has got the best of him in both San Francisco and Sydney. So we can see the championship points there. Japan just 1 point ahead of Australia. Next, we head to Cowes in the UK, where Great Britain will be on home water. We will see you there.